Carlos.
All right. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey. I want to touch back on when I met Lauren. Newbie wholesaler, aspiring wholesaler. Very nervous. I did the whole analysis paralysis and I just got out the door. So let me go to one of these REI events. And I met, first person I met was a guy named Dwayne Shaw. The reason I approached him because he was a black guy, I just went to the person that was most comfortable. Just be honest, because everybody was nice in the dress, and I'm, just getting in there.
And I want you to know, I know James Shaw. He's one of the first people I met when I moved to Florida and became a realtor in 2006. We worked at Exit together.
That's what she told me as well. I approached Dwayne Shaw. I spoke to him for a little bit, and I fed him a line that I learned from YouTube. They told me to approach investors and say, hey, I'm a new wholesaler. I come across this kind of properties in my area. Are you interested in working with me? I told him that, and it seems like I was a rookie. He kind of fed into it or whatnot, and he embraced it, he spoke to me about, what it takes to be a wholesaler and whatnot. And Lauren popped up. She came out of nowhere. Hey, I'm Lauren, and I work with Dwayne Shaw.
That would be you.
Yeah. And I told the same thing as well, and she embraced me. She said, hey, come to my house tomorrow. I said, oh, all right, sure, whatever. This lady told me to come to the house. She told me to come to her house. I said, all right, whatever, The next day, I went to her house, somewhere in the Western, I believe, nice big homes. And as I'm driving by, I'm looking for a distressed property so I can try to market out to them, try to wholesale it, Very ambitious at the moment. So I reached her property. I went in there and she invited me to the office and she just threw it at me. All the information in regards to rehabbing. I didn't know what she was talking about. I had no clue. She was talking about numbers. I guess she had a property that was on MLS and she was saying something about if she let it stay a little longer, she'd make more money. If she do something now, she'd make less money. I didn't know. So what I learned from that experience was she embraced me. She took me in. She brought me to her house and she gave me information. She didn't have to do it. She did it out of the kind of her heart. So from there, I was just tagging along with her. I went to her properties in Homestead and just got a good feel for what it takes to be in the business. And we kept in contact from there. Then I just did my own thing. I got into the business. I just started mailing out to these homeowners, doing the traditional route of sending mailing or postcards or cold calling. That's what I first did. I cold called. I was very, very nervous when it came to speaking to people over the phone, and I knew that I had to break out of that. So what I did, I just called people because I knew that I had to break out of it. The only way you can reduce the fear is by by attempting and just going for it. So I called. Fortunately, the first person I spoke to, he spoke a lot. So I didn't have to do too much. So I relaxed, I asked him questions, he blabbed on, and I just, whatnot. So from there, I kept calling. So the fear was here, my confidence was there. As I kept calling, it started to level out. The fear went down, I gained more confidence, so I got a little better at it. So I continued doing that, and I called one lady. She had a duplex. She was motivated. I guess she needed the money to fund her son's tuition, something like that. So she was motivated. It was a duplex in the Miami area, not so good, but it was upcoming. It was somewhat in the Wynwood area. Wynwood is a I guess upcoming area nowadays, and it's pricey right now. But at the time, it was upcoming. So I got this deal, the duplex. I ran my numbers. I think it was like a 12% cap. I think it was 12% cap. And when I got the property in the contract, I think I got it in the contract for about $100,000. And I tried to wholesale it for about maybe $160,000. So I tried to make $60,000 in the deal. So I got real greedy. A lot of investors were interested. I had one investor that actually put the money down and we were going to closing. And then another investor said, hey, I'll give you more money. And I said, sure, all right, how do I work with you? He said, just get out the contract with other investors. I said, all right, whatever, cool. I couldn't do that, it's illegal, but I tried anyways. I tried doing that, the investor, forced to sue me. I mean, he was attempted to sue me, and so I kind of just stuck with him. Uh, Long story short, we went to closing with that guy, and it all went through, and I made 60 grand, and that was one of maybe not my first deal, but one of my bigger deals in my early stages of wholesaling. Just to retract back a little bit, now I wholesale in the Tri-County area. I have a team in the Texas area, California area, and now the Atlanta market. Nowadays, what I do, I don't really get my hands dirty as far as making calls or writing letters. I have a team to do that. All I do now is just analyze numbers, and have my acquisition manager make offers for me. I am a wholesaler in the residential commercial area, meaning I wholesale apartment buildings and small multifamily buildings. Single family is not my expertise anymore because the profits aren't there. You can make about 5 grand, 10 grand on the deal. But multifamily, you can make about 60 grand, 70 grand, 40 grand. On average, I make about $17,000 based on my last year performance. I was averaging about $17,000. How did I get started? I first started off in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. How did I get there? I met this guy. He worked for a company that wholesaled nationwide. So they get so many leads in their system that some leads fall through the cracks. So what he would do is just take those leads and just, hey, Carlos, let's work this deal. So we ended up in Milwaukee. It was a 32 unit property. I think it's about $1.6 million. It wasn't a cash offer. We did something creative. We did a seller financing strategy. I didn't know how to do it. I was just following his footsteps because he had more experience in that field. So he kind of taught me how seller financing worked. And we presented that to the seller. They liked the deal, so we went forward. So what happened with that deal was the fact that we weren't local. We hired a lawyer. He cultivated a contract for us. They got in touch with the seller's lawyer, and so everything was working. Everything was in process, and we had to look for buyers. At that time, I was leveraging bigger pockets for buyers because everybody worldwide is on bigger pockets, and that's how we found buyers. We just put the deal on there, and they came flooding in. So that deal there, we're looking to make $200,000, big spread. We were so excited, but so nervous because that was big money. We never made any deals yet at the time, so we was kind of nervous. So we found a buyer. He was a local buyer. He was actually like maybe a couple blocks away from the subject property. So we called him and said, hey buyer, we got this deal. We explained it to him. We didn't have it in the contract yet, and he knew that. And yeah, he knew we didn't have it in the contract. And we gave him all the details, the numbers, the unit mix, the performer, the ROI, whatever. He loved the deal. And he asked us, do we have it in the contract? We said, yeah, we're working on it. Oh. And him being like literally like a couple blocks away from the subject property, all he did was walk to the property, found the property manager, hey, where's the owner? I'd like to buy the property. And he did that. So that didn't work well for us. But the point of that story is we learned. I learned not to disclose anything before having it in the contract. From there, I just kept going, kept trying, and I got one deal, led to another deal, and the profits started off smaller. The profits was from, I guess my first deal was $1,200. From there, $4,000. From there, $15,000, $20,000. And as I made that type of money, it was still surprising to me. I'm like, wow, I'm actually making money. So every time I get a check, I'm like, wow, it's still surprising. But as I got accustomed to making this money, it's like, all right, I know how to make money now. What's the next step? So for me, wholesaling is love. I love it. I would never rehab a property. I was just telling them, this is just my biased opinion. The reason why is because you get a property, you rehab it, make it nice and pretty. 6 months later, you put it on the market, you sell it, you make about 60, 70 grand. In the multifamily world of wholesale,